who's now running for Congress, okay, who, reminder, testified against Donald Trump in his first impeachment hearing, took to Twitter, his wife, on Sunday, right after with, quote, "No ears were harmed, carry on with your Sunday afternoon." Then she doubled down with, "Oh, sorry, your trigger," with laughing emojis. I mean, I don't really care a bit. But today, obviously, here's what Vindman posted, or the wife of: "I have deleted my tweet. It was flippant political violence. It's a serious issue, whether it's aimed at a former president, the media, immigrants, political enemies, every incident is blah, blah, blah." Now she's backing out because the donor class got her. What would you say to her if you were sitting across the table right now, Don?
Listen, she's disgusting, just like her husband was, just a corrupt guy. That was the guy, I guess, they wanted to give the Minister of Defense of Ukraine to. I'm sure he was a very loyal patriot to America. But it doesn't just end with her. I mean, Kamala Harris, repeatedly, and I quote, "Trump is a threat to our democracy and fundamental freedoms. It's on us to recognize the threat Trump possesses." Does one of us have to come out alive? Ha, 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 ha. I mean, these are Kamala Harris, Joe Biden. "It's time to put a bullseye in Trump." Like, these are direct quotes. There is one existential threat. It's Donald Trump. That's another Joe Biden. Gwen Waltz, "Bye-bye, Donald Trump." You know, it goes on and on. There's a list. We just put it out on X. All of these high-powered Democrat officials, the people that, "Oh, we got to tone down the rhetoric." They're the ones doing all the rhetoric, Carl. But it's typical Democrat projection, okay? They accuse everyone else of doing the things that they're doing. They scream and yell, just like they've been talking about democracy and calling everyone they don't like a fascist, while censoring, jailing their political opponents, and so on and so forth. They're the ones acting like actual fascists. They do it day in and day out. But they have the mainstream media covering for them. They have big tech. They've made it okay. They have created this level of intensity in our political system. They have created the lunatics who will go after and try to kill my father. And I can tell you something, as a father of 5, I'm sick and tired of having to have a conversation with my children about yet another deranged leftist radicalized by the media, by the mainstream media, by big tech, by Democrat politicians trying to kill their grandfather. I had to have that conversation 5 separate times again yesterday. Yeah. It's getting old, and it's caused 100% by the Democrats.
Good evening, American patriots, and welcome to the Douglas Ducote Show. You got many places you could be tonight. You chose to be here with me, and for that, I am forever grateful. Thank you very, very much. So, any idea what we're going to be talking about tonight? Well, I think you figured it out as we continue down this path of the second assassination attempt against Donald J. Trump. And now the left and the Democrats and the mainstream media pretty much are blaming Trump for getting shot. It's his rhetoric that's causing this. You couldn't make this shit up if you tried, could you? So here's a little example of where we're going to go with this show tonight.
Democrats describe him as a threat to democracy, a madman who will plunge America into a dystopian nightmare. The media say he's a cross between, Mussolini and Hitler, only worse. The Secret Service say he's not the sitting president, so he doesn't get a full security detail. And so, 9 weeks after Thomas Crooks fired a volley of shots at Donald Trump, one of which hit him in the ear, there's been a second attempt on his life. So that's 2 assassination attempts in just 9 weeks. While Kamala Harris is dodging interviews, Donald Trump, he's dodging bullets. And if you listen to MSNBC, well, it's all Donald Trump's fault.
Do you expect to hear anything from the Trump campaign about toning down the rhetoric, toning down the violence, or would that be atypical of the former president?
Well, Alex, remember back to the assassination attempt on President Trump's life and how, there was talk of a new tone, and then the Republican convention was, by Trumpian standards, muted. And it did seem like he was, just trying to take it down a few notches. But then by the end of his convention speech, we were kind of back to where we started.
I remember when we used to joke that if Donald Trump cured cancer, he'd be criticised for putting oncologists out of work. These days, Donald Trump can't even get shot at without it being his fault, Caleb.
And he's insane. Well, actually, no, it's not insane. By American left standards, that's an entirely insane response.
Normal.
And it's exactly what we saw after, as you say, he got shot in the ear in Pennsylvania. I remember on CNN, one of the first things they were saying was that, he fell to the ground, Not that it was obvious that he'd been shot or anything. They wonder why things like this keep happening. If you try to blame the bloke who is being shot for being shot, you may have a small problem. It is exactly this kind of rhetoric that encourages people to go and do things like we saw today. Now this particular bloke, Ryan Ruth, however you want to pronounce his name, probably doesn't really matter at this point. He's clearly a nutter. He was found before he was actually able to do any potential damage to Donald Trump, and thank God for that. But it raises the question, how on earth, once again, was someone able to get that close to the potential next president of the United States, former president of the United States? Trump was at his golf course at West Palm Beach in Florida. He was on the 5th hole. This bloke was stationed at the 6th hole. It was only because a member of the Secret Service saw the gun pointing out between some shrubs of a fence and fired a shot at him that this bloke then ran off. That's exactly how brave he was. But how was the whole place not scoped out until he was one hole before he got there? Well, the local sheriff says, well, he's not the president. Why would you expect there to be security?
Well, you got to understand the golf course is surrounded by shrubbery. So when somebody gets into the shrubbery, they're pretty much out of sight. All right? And at this level that he is at right now, he's not the sitting president. If he was, we would have had this entire golf course surrounded. But because he's not, the security is limited to the areas that the Secret Service deems possible. So I would imagine that the next time he comes to the golf course, there'll probably be a little bit more people around the perimeter.
Oh, that's good. Next time there'll be a bit more security. Maybe they would have thought after 9 weeks ago when he was shot at in Pennsylvania, perhaps now would be the time to have
this was the next time.
But for heaven's sake, how far behind the 8 ball can these people possibly be? And I sort of hadn't thought about this in depth since Pennsylvania. But when I heard this today, I started to have the thought that particularly if he becomes president, I suspect he's not going to die of natural causes. He's going to die because someone kills him. If it got this close a second time round to him being shot at, I'm almost convinced that at some point Donald Trump is going to be struck more severely than he was in the ear, or he's going to be killed. It is that.
So, am I alone in thinking that this was an inside job? That there are people, higher ups, that intentionally are setting this up to happen? I'm not trying to start a conspiracy theory here, but what is coming out of the left and the Democrats, they're basically saying, folks, rise up and go take this man out because he's a threat to our democracy. He's a threat to you. They're comparing him to Hitler, Saddam Hussein, Osama bin Laden. The rhetoric that's coming out of the Democrats and liberals' mouths and the mainstream media is insane. It's on a level that is beyond anyone's comprehension that has half a fucking brain. And they just keep doubling down. They don't get it. And then they're blaming us, MAGA, for what's happening to Donald Trump. They're blaming Donald Trump for sending out mean tweets and for saying that Mexico's not sending their finest. Donald Trump and members of the Republican Party are not on record anywhere saying things that would incite others to commit violence against someone. It's just not there. Last Tuesday's show, I said, hell, if you got it, you can prove it to me, show it to me. I want to see it. Prove me wrong. And I had 4 or 5 people send me video clips of stuff going, here it is, here it is. Here's Donald Trump inciting violence. And you listen to it, and it's nothing compared to what's coming out of these Democrats' mouths. Not even close to what's coming out of their mouths. Like this.
Sickens me to hear it. It's really unpatriotic, and morally, it's a violation of their oath to protect and defend against all enemies of the United States. Trump is an enemy of the United States.
Trump is an enemy of the United States. Is that not inciting violence against him? Why is that man not in handcuffs right now? Or how about this man?
If Donald Trump is elected president, then we are, and it rhymes with crude. He is the greatest threat to our democracy in our history.
He's the greatest threat to our democracy in our history. A member of the United States Congress, Adam Shithead, said that. And why is he not in handcuffs, sitting in a jail cell for inciting violence? How many assassination attempts have to be done before the Department of Justice and the FBI do their damn job and shut these people up that are inciting people to go kill Donald Trump? Imagine for one moment if it was the other way around. What do you think would be happening right now? If Republican members of Congress were suggesting that Kamala Harris should be taken off planet Earth, they would be flipping the hell out. But they're Democrats, so they can get away with it. Like this psycho bitch.
I am pushing to make sure that we can focus on what the danger lurking down the road is that if we don't make sure that we rally and focus on Donald Trump and the extremist good versus evil existential threat that he represents to our democracy, then we're going to end up back there again. And that's the nightmare scenario my constituents want to avoid.
Going to end up back there again? What did Donald Trump do in the last time he was president for 4 years that was a threat to democracy? What? Can you share that with me, you dumbass? Nothing. You're just making this shit up. And you should be sitting in a fucking jail cell for inciting violence against Donald Trump. But the Department of Justice and the FBI is going to give you a pass because you're a Democrat. And we now know that there's a 2-tier justice system in America. We've seen it for 3.5 years now. Republicans are held to a different standard than Democrats are, and Democrats can get away with hell, with murder. Here's a prime example. There are people who made online threats against Democrat President Barack Obama, Joe Biden, who are locked away in prison doing serious jail time right now. But what about those that make online threats against Donald Trump? Well, my friends, a Jupiter, Florida resident who was arrested this past July, which we talked about right here on this show, after making threatening social media posts about Donald Trump and his vice president nominee, J.D. Vance, was allowed to enter into a pretrial diversion program on Tuesday. This will allow him avoiding a formal conviction. His name is Michael M. Wiseman. He's 68 years old. He was arrested by Jupiter, Florida police and charged with one count of writing threats to kill or do bodily harm, a second-degree felony, after multiple people reported to police his social media post. After looking at the post and seeing what Wiseman posted on Facebook and other social media accounts, he posted threads in the days after the July 13th attempt assassination of Trump that praised the shooting and were encouraging in nature for others to attempt to do the same, it said in the affidavit. Wiseman posted on July 17th, "Some people need to be better shots if they know they're going to kill a monster." One post from July 18th showed a photo of Trump in the crosshairs of a sniper scope that said, ready, aim, fire, rinse, and repeat. Both are posts that Wiseman is now admitted to making. So one would think this man would suffer the same prison time as those who did the same to Democrat presidents, right? If we didn't have a two-tier justice system, this guy would go to prison. Well, think again. The prosecutor and Wiseman's defense attorney agreed shortly after his arrest that he'd be released from custody on a $5,000 bond. He'd be put on house arrest. So, do you know how much money you have to put up on a $5,000 bond? Well, if you don't know, let me help you. That's $500 for threatening the life of the president or former president of the United States. $500 got him out of jail. Now, he was required to have a comprehensive mental health screening and begin recommended treatments and medications if needed. Wiseman entered the diversion program agreement 2 days after a second attempted assassination on former Trump at his golf course near West Palm Beach on Sunday. But now Wiseman has been removed from house arrest. And here's the kicker. If he successfully completes the 18-month program, all charges will be dropped. Under the agreement, Wiseman, though, cannot carry or possess any gun or weapon or post on social media. Considering criminals don't obey laws, well, that punishment does absolutely nothing. He is required to continue receiving mental health counseling and treatment as needed. His defense attorney, Tama, T-A-M-A, Cudman, C-U-D-M-A-N, declined to comment to media that reached out to her today. The state's attorney's office said in a statement, quote, "We agreed to resolve this case after considering the defendant's medical conditions and ensuring the safety of the community with terms to provide for the defendant's continuing mental health treatment and the removal of any firearms." The defendant, a first-time offender, also pleaded guilty to making the threats that led to his arrest. I'm at a loss. How in the hell, after the arrest was made, that not only the defense for the guy, which that's what their job is, but the prosecutor as well, who, if you haven't figured it out by now, has Trump derangement syndrome, along with the judge who agreed to this. But no, it's Donald Trump's fault for inciting people to make these kind of threats and to attempt to assassinate him. It's all his fault, right? I don't know. Let's ask this nut job.
Having Trump not only have had the codes, but now having the classified information for Americans and being able to put that out and share it in his resort with anyone and everyone who comes through should be terrifying to all Americans, and he needs to be shot.
He needs to be shot. You want to hear that again? Sure.
Having Trump not only have had the codes, but now having the classified information for Americans and being able to put that out and share it in his resort with anyone and everyone who comes through should be terrifying to all Americans, and he needs to be shot.
Do you feel that way about Joe Biden? He not only took classified documents and stored them when he was a member of Congress, when he was a vice president, stored them in several different home locations unsecured, as well as several office buildings unsecured, stacks of them in a garage next to his Corvette. Do you feel the same way, madam, about Joe Biden? Or because he's a Democrat, you give him a pass? This woman just said Donald Trump on MSNBC should be shot. Guess what, madam? You're getting your wish. And you're not being charged for saying anything. You're not inciting violence. You couldn't make this shit up if you tried, my friends. It's insane what the Department of Justice and the FBI are allowing these Democrats and far-left liberals to get away with. Like this no-good piece of shit.
Donald Trump cannot be president again. He's an existential threat to democracy. Now, what I think, thank God, Democrats are not Republicans. Republicans just flock in one line. That's something that endangers democracy. That's what happened in the 1930s. The Germans just walked in line with Hitler and Stalin.
Is that not inciting violence against Donald J. Trump? Comparing him to Stalin and Hitler and us, MAGA, Republicans, conservatives that support him? We're doing the same thing that the supporters of Hitler and Stalin did, according to that idiot. Why is the FBI not knocking down his fucking door and putting him in handcuffs tonight? Why? Because he's a Democrat and there's a two-tier justice system on full display. You think we saw it over the past 3.5 years? Oh boy, it's on steroids right now. It's out of fucking control. Shall we go on and show more? Sure.
I talked about the fact that when we swore in finally in January, that we swore to defend against those that are coming against us, whether they are domestic or international. And right now, I feel like MAGA in general They are threats to us domestically. And we see it time and time again. And I think that's why you see so many national leaders, whether they're Republicans or Democrats, coming together to say there is only one person qualified to be the commander-in-chief, and that is Kamala.
She just said that a member of Congress just said that me and you are domestic terrorists because we support Donald Trump. We're domestic terrorists. Is that not inciting violence against us? Read the fucking code, FBI, Department of Justice. Read the current laws on the books in America on inciting violence. Think that's going to happen? No. No, it's not going to happen at all. How about this blonde-headed, babbling idiot?
Now for her first television interview in months. Welcome to This Week.
Thank you. Great to be with you, John.
So, bottom line, why did you make this decision to support Harris, and why did you do it now?
Yeah, I've been voting for 40 years. My first vote I ever cast was for Ronald Reagan in 1984. I've never voted for a Democrat.
Wow.
It tells you, I think, the stakes in this election. Donald Trump presents a challenge and a threat fundamentally to the republic. We see it on a daily basis. Somebody who was willing to use violence in order to attempt to seize power, to stay in power. Someone who represents unrecoverable catastrophe, frankly, in my view. And we have to do everything possible to ensure that he doesn't, that he's not reelected. Given how close this race is, in my view, again, it's not enough. You have many Republicans out there who are saying, well, we're not going to vote for him, but we will write someone else in. Right. And I think that this time around, that's not enough. That it's important to actually cast a vote for.
Donald Trump is a fundamental threat to our democracy, from Liz Cheney's mouth. Are you kidding me? And why? FBI and Department of Justice? Is she not in handcuffs? Please. I assure you that if I said the kind of things about Kamala Harris or Joe Biden that they're saying about Donald Trump, and somebody attempted to assassinate them, I would go to fucking jail. And so would you if you did this. Network coverage of former President Trump has been overwhelmingly negative since the second assassination attempt on him on Sunday, as I just showed you. Analysts at the Media Research Center, the MRC, reviewed an hour's worth of campaign coverage on ABC, CBS, and NBC evening newscasts between September 15th and September 17th. The MRC reported that although the thought assassination attempt took up 70% of all campaign news on the networks, a significant amount of that coverage was negative towards Trump, blaming him for his assassination attempts. Over the 3 nights, we tallied 21 elevated comments about the GOP candidate, 20 of which were negative, which computes to a 95% negative spin score, they reported. NBC Nightly News anchor Lester Holt drew a connection between Trump's rhetoric and the attempted violence against him just hours after the gunman was spotted that tried to kill him the second time. Today's apparent assassination attempt comes aimed increasingly fierce rhetoric on the campaign trail by Donald Trump. Mr. Trump, his running mate J.D. Vance, continue to make baseless claims, for instance, about Haiti immigrants in Ohio. The town of Springfield, Ohio, was put on a spotlight after viral comments of pets being stolen and eaten by Haiti migrants, which officials there are denying were amplified by Trump during last week's presidential debate. As we all know, we've all seen the memes. And if the news media did their damn job and went and interviewed the people that have been reporting it and making 911 calls, that they're cats and dogs and geese from local ponds, they're watching the people come get them and take them because that's just their culture. That's what they do. And they're doing it here. But oh no, because Trump and Vance said it, oh, they're domestic terrorists. Meanwhile, Trump and his allies have slammed the Democrats, arguing that extreme rhetoric is encouraging violence against the former commander-in-chief. The MRC noted that on CBS Morning News cast, anchor Norah O'Donnell rejected Trump's argument and put it back on him. Donald Trump is blaming Democrats for inflaming political rhetoric, but the former president's own words seem to be increasing the threat of political violence since Springfield, Ohio. That's where a false, ugly accusation against Haitians, thousands of whom are legal permanent residents, is impacting everyday life, she said. Ma'am, I hope they eat your cat or dog or any pet you have. Maybe then you would snap out of whatever type of reality that you're in right now, which is unhelpful in our current environment that's happening. According to the MRC, NBC News reporter Garrett Haake, Haake, said Trump has also used incendiary language against Democrats, and authorities have not yet revealed a motive in their incident. These networks gave relentless little time to the accusation that these attempted shootings might have been influenced by domestic rhetoric, painting Trump as an essential threat, the MRC said. Out of 48 minutes of coverage of the attempted shooting, the three networks spent less than 2 minutes, actually it was 1 minute and 53 seconds, on the possibility that Democrats could be to blame. I'm so disgusted with our government, our leaders, to include many of the Republican members of Congress and the Senate, that aren't calling this shit out on a daily basis. Where are you at? And then there's this investigation, a bipartisan investigation. I shared this with you Tuesday, looking into how this was handled with the Secret Service and the FBI, Department of Justice, everybody involved, law enforcement wise, in the protection and or those that were there when the shootings took place. And for some reason, this administration is withholding evidence that they need. I told you last week, or I'm sorry, on Tuesday, about Democrat Senator Blumenthal, who's very upset that the administration is not letting them have the information they need to do their investigation. And other than a cover-up, why would that happen? Senator Ron Johnson described the level at which the Department of Homeland Security and the Secret Service have prevented the Homeland Security and Governmental Affairs Committee from obtaining crucial material to investigate the failures that led to the assassination attempts of former President Trump. Things like the autopsy report on the guy that they killed that tried to shoot Trump and actually shot him. He got hit in the ear. The House has things that they can subpoena. And they're trying. And they're being rejected by this administration. They're not getting it. They wanted the toxicology report. They can't get it. We don't have any of the trajectory reports that we asked for. So where did the bullets go? We don't even know how they handled the crime scene, said Johnson, the ranking member of this subcommittee of investigations. And they also found out that the Secret Service told local law enforcement and the people that owned the building that the shooter used and was taken out on that they will clean it. Now, folks, I worked over 9 years in law enforcement. County Sheriff's Office. I was a training officer. I worked in federal law enforcement for 3 years. And I assure you that cops don't clean up crime scenes, especially the Secret Service. Law enforcement agencies have people that are contracted to do that are vetted. And after all the investigations done and the pictures are taken, measurements, everything's completed, then and only then does the crime scene get to be cleaned up. And it isn't the cops that do it. But guess what? In this case, not only did they clean it, but they did it in a matter of days. So nobody could see whatever it is they're trying to hide. For instance, the slope of the building was too much to have somebody up there to cover it from a potential shooter, which we all know was a damn lie from the director of the Secret Service. But the Secret Service had agents go on top of that building and clean that shit up. Does that not scream cover up? The senators pointed to the amount of time that has passed since the July 13th assassination attempt against Trump, noting there's just basic information we should have right now. We should have already had it. We haven't been able to interview even the sniper who took out Thomas Crooks. They can't even interview the sniper who shot and took the guy out. Crooks, the would-be assassin, during the July 13th rally in Pennsylvania, opened fire, grazing the president's ear, killing a rally attendee and critically injuring 2 others, as you all know. According to the senator, the sniper who shot Crooks was the first person that we wanted to interview. Further, he said, they haven't been provided any FD 302 forms by the FBI, which are used to investigate through results of their interviews. They pointed out that the FBI director, Paul Abbott, told him during a hearing in July that the Bureau would provide the forms as soon as they could. Haven't gotten one, he said. They've done over 1,000 interviews, and we've only done 12 because they won't give us the rest of them. He said the lack of information is consistent with what is known as slow walking. He also said that a recent briefing to the chairs and ranking members of both houses in the Senate from acting Secret Service Director Ronald Rowe did not provide the senators with any new information. They described that the few documents which had been provided to the lawmakers were heavily redacted. What are they trying to hide? He said, I've never seen anything like this in my life as far as the redactions are concerned or the slow walking. Nothing, and this isn't my first rodeo. Johnson recalled the redactions are normally blocking out certain parts of text. These were just whiteouts. So I don't know. Was it just a single word, he asked? He said some cases it wasn't evident whether something had been obscured in the documents or not due to the white redactions. That's the level that we're getting in terms of lack of cooperation with our investigation. The Secret Service has reiterated its cooperation with Congress investigation despite bipartisan outcry from both Democrats and the Republicans on that committee that this is stonewalling and they're not giving them what they're asking for. In a comment to Fox News Digital, a spokesperson for the Secret Service said, the U.S. Secret Service is cooperating with a wide range of reviews and investigations related to the attempted assassination of former Donald Trump. This includes multiple congressional investigations, including inquiries by the Senate Judiciary Committee, the Homeland Security and Governmental Affairs Committee, the Permanent Subcommittee on Investigations in the Senate, and the Special Bipartisan Task Force in the House of Representatives. That's a mouthful, right? Well, your statement sounds great, but your actions are the problem. So what are you hiding? Was these assassination attempts an inside job? If you don't want conspiracy theories floating around, then provide the documents to the investigating committee, unredacted. At this point, I'm sorry to say that I truly believe someone in higher power within our government set these assassination attempts up because they want Donald Trump eliminated from the face of the earth. Because everything else they've tried, all the Russia collusion, all the impeachments, everything they did failed. All the court cases, except for a civil case, failed or are being rejected as I speak. So, one of the biggest things that the Democrats are all upset about is that Donald Trump is a threat to democracy because he lied and said that he won and that there's no way Joe Biden got the votes he got. That makes him a threat to democracy, and that there's no proof. They lied and told you that there's been all these judges looked at all these cases that the Republicans brought forward and said there's nothing there. And that it was a legitimate election. They wouldn't hear any of the case. Not a single judge heard these cases, but they're lying and saying that they did. Over 60. Republican judges, they said. All agreed that the election was fair and there was no cheating. Well, as the countdown to election is nearing, listen closely. Roughly 100,000 Arizona residents may not be eligible to vote on the full ballot in Arizona's general election in November due to an administration error that has allowed residents to sign up to vote in elections without providing the required proof of citizenship. How convenient. That's just one state. Wonder how many others seem to be having administration errors that we've not been told about. In a post on X this past Tuesday, formerly Twitter, Stephen Richer, Mariposa County recorder, said that the number of individuals impacted by the issue is approximately 97,000. He went on to say all these people have attested, though, under penalty of law, that they are U.S. citizens. Just no proof. And in all likelihood, we believe that they probably are U.S. citizens. But they've not provided document proof of citizenship. 97,000 people. And just one county in Arizona. The ABC 15 reported that the Mariposa County Recorder's Office recently discovered the administration era has allowed state residents to vote in state and municipal elections without proof of citizenship for several years now. According to Fox 10, Arizona has required proof of citizenship to vote since 2004. However, if an Arizona resident received a driver's license before 1996, the state's motor vehicle division records do not show proof of citizenship. But that's all they had to show to sign up to vote. As a result, due to an issue in the state's database, when drivers with older licenses register to vote, the department has mistakenly allowed residents to vote on a full ballot despite lacking proof of citizenship. It is my position that these residents have not satisfied Arizona's documented proof of citizenship law, and the secretary argues that it's too close to the election to implement such a change and that it would be unduly burdensome on voters and deprive them of their voting rights. But according to the Arizona Clean Elections Group, they will not be allowed to vote in local elections until they can prove their citizenship. But, drum roll please, will be permitted to vote in federal elections for president, senator, and members of the U.S. House of Representatives. One county, 97,000 people. I guarantee you this is widespread election fraud happening all over this country. The next Democrat or leftist that tells me that this past election wasn't stolen, I'm going to tell them to go pound sand up their ass. They're a fucking idiot. Election fraud is happening right in front of our face. Now I want to talk about the most evil, subhuman, lower than snail shit Democrats on planet Earth. 150 House Democrats voted against a bill that would deport illegal immigrants after they've served their time of sexual offenses against children and women. But even so, the Violence Against Women by Illegal Aliens Act thankfully did pass the House of Representatives yesterday. Let's see what happens in the Senate. All present Republicans voted for the bill, as did 51 Democrat lawmakers, only 51. The measure passed 266 to 158. In addition to deporting migrants convicted of sex crimes, the legislation would also deem illegal immigrants who admitted to domestic violence or sex-related charges of children or women to be admissible in the U.S. It's part of a wider legislative push by the House GOP to spotlight issues stemming from the border crisis, which has for months affected cities and states across our entire country. Representative Nancy Mace said before the vote that she's 100% anticipated Democrats voting against her bill. She said, if you vote against it, you're sexist against women, Mace declared. I mean, truly, because we're talking about illegals who are here, who are committed domestic violence, rape, and murder of women and children, sexual assaults, and they gotta go. Pedophiles. And 150 Democrats said, no, that's okay. They can stay. They should be allowed into our country. Democrats have panned the bill as Islamophobic, however. Here we go again, debating another partisan bill that fearmongers about immigrants instead of working together to fix the immigration system. Congressional Progressive Caucus Chair Pramila Jayapal said during a debate on the bill, I probably shouldn't be too surprised. Scapegoating immigrants and attempting to weaponize the crime of domestic violence is appearing to be a time-honored tradition for Republicans. Are you kidding me? I hate to say this, but the only way these 150 Democrats are going to get this is if their family member is raped or murdered by an illegal alien, or their children are molested or sexually assaulted by a pedophile illegal alien. That's what it's going to take. And if it doesn't change their mind, then there's some very, very sick and perverted people. How in God's earth can any human being, much less a highly educated member of Congress, say that no, if you molest a child, rape a little kid or a baby or a woman, and you're an illegal alien, after you serve your time, you should be allowed to stay here in America to do it again. How evil must you be to make that decision in your mind? Despite the wider pushback, GOP efforts to highlight the border crisis have gotten modest Democrat support. House Republicans previously passed a bill to detain and deport migrants convicted of assaulting law enforcement with the help of 54 Democrats, while 158 lawmakers voted against it and said if an illegal alien attacks, injures, hurts, or kills a cop, they should stay in America. Meanwhile, the GOP-backed Lake and Riley Act, named after the Georgia University nursing student who was allegedly killed by an illegal immigrant, netted support from just 37 House Democrats. I'm so ashamed that I was ever part of the Democrat Party. I was a proud member of the Democrat Party for many, many years. It wasn't until the 1980s when I realized they were the party of racist, the party of evil, and that it was slowly being hijacked by far left liberal ideology. And then I switched parties. To know that I supported that party today makes me sick to my stomach. My whole family voted Democrat. I had a cousin who was not only a member of the Louisiana Senate, but went on to become the governor of Louisiana, Edwin Edwards, who was also a fucking crook. and serve jail time. That's how deep the Democrat roots go in my family. When I switched parties, I made it well known to my family and continue to make it well known to my family every opportunity I got why I was changing parties. And eventually, every Ducote in my family switched parties when I presented to them the evidence and the facts about that party. And that's what we need to happen all across this nation. People need to reject the Democrat Party. It's evil. It's disgusting. It's racist. It's bigots. And it needs to be done away with. Don't vote Democrat unless you agree with sexual assault of babies and children, sexual assault against women. If you agree with the drug cartels coming across our southern border, bringing fentanyl and other drugs that are killing Americans, if you agree with MS-13 gang members killing Americans, if you agree with the cartels bringing women and children and sex trafficking them across the country, vote Democrat, for crying out loud. Because if you vote Democrat, that's exactly what you agree with. And that makes you a sick and evil bastard. You had many places you could be tonight. You chose to be here with me, and for that, I'm forever grateful. My apologies for being so passionate tonight, but I'm so fucking tired of watching what's happening to this country being destroyed by the Democrat Party and the far-left liberals of our society. I served this country with honor. I deployed 4 separate times to combat operations to defend our Constitution that the Democrat Party is fucking shitting on. And I'm tired of it. It's sick what they've done and continue to do and are allowed to get away with by our Department of Justice and our FBI. It is time that the people in this country stand up and vote them out of office once and for all. Otherwise, this country will be over with if Kamala Harris gets elected to be president of the United States. You can kiss it all goodbye. And I promise you that. If you haven't already done so, please like and subscribe, share my videos, share my channel. In the description of all my videos, you can see the places you can follow me on social media. Follow me there, I'll follow you back. That's how we do this. We share the knowledge, we put the information out there, and we hope and we pray that somehow, somewhere in the minds of somebody who's voting Democrat, that they wake up and realize that they've been lied to, as I did. As always, please say a prayer for our men and women serving the United States military, our veterans, our law enforcement officers, our first responders, their families, our angel families, our blue and gold star families, and our country. May God bless the United States of America. May God bless each and every one of you. And I'll leave you, as I always do, many times after this show. If you do not know what angel families are, or blue and gold star families, please look that up. That's your homework. They need your support now more than ever before, because the Biden-Harris campaign and the administration that's currently in power right now is pissing on the graves of their loved ones. And that is unacceptable. If anything breaks between now and next Tuesday's show, I do a video about it or I do a live program about it. Other than that, I hope you all have a wonderful and blessed weekend. Please be safe. Please remember that we're not safe here in America anymore, because this administration has allowed hundreds of thousands and millions of illegal aliens to come across this southern border, and many of them that have been captured, several hundred, or on the current no-fly list because of their ties to Muslim terrorism. How many got through that weren't captured? It's only a matter of time, my friends, before right here in America, we have another 9/11 type event. And it's going to be a huge freaking disaster. It's not if, it's when and where. Take care. And I'll see you all next week on Tuesday.